Originally, the MAW was said to be the place for the irredeemable souls, literally the underworld for the evilest in all of the universe. The place is ruled by a jailer that initially seemed like a warden of the place, the one that controlled everything. However, recent, very heavy spoilers and the things we have seen tell an entirely different story. What if the Arbiter would never even send souls here, and what if the MAW is not even intended to be a realm for any mortal souls? Brought to you by gamivo.com. Make sure to click the link in the description and get Shadowlands as well as game time at discounted prices. So, Shadowlands are quite different than what we were told originally when the expansion was announced. Initially, the MAW seemed relatively simple and straightforward. It was hell for the evilest in all of the cosmos. However, nothing really ends up here, as first off, the jailer is called the jailer, as in he's the one keeping them imprisoned, but really, he seems to be the jailed, and anyone is just scared out of their mind even at the thought of him breaking out. Here's the thing, there is anima, the soul energy. When a mortal dies, depending on their life, they have a certain amount of anima. This anima is transferred to the realm they're assigned to, and the way everything works, it is sort of like the currency of the afterlife. However, we've learned that this isn't just to keep the realms alive, but it is all a part of this complex mechanism to keep the jailer chained. The anima is essentially like the electricity that keeps the power on in his prison. Well, recently, the machine of death broke, this mechanism broke, and all the anima started pouring into the MAW, which is how the jailer got so incredibly powerful. This raises a really big question. If the jailer getting anima is messing up the Shadowlands and threatening its very existence, and all the other realms are literally dying, why would under any circumstance the Arbiter or anyone else send souls to the MAW, as this would completely go against the mechanism and against their own purpose? Well, there are, in my opinion, two theories that make a lot of sense. One is that either Arbiter or Revendred, when they decide a soul is irredeemable, they strip off all the anima, consume it, and then they just throw the empty soul into the MAW so the jailer doesn't get anything. The other way to look at it is they don't send the souls. The MAW isn't even supposed to exist. Some spoilers from the beta shows us that there are very bad souls around in the Shadowlands that are not sent into the MAW, and they definitely should be if we go by the initial logic. The worst case scenario would be Revendred in this case, where most would be able to either atone for their sins or just suffer for a very long time. Now, to examine this fabled jailer, his real name is Zoal, and he is an eternal one, the same as the other rulers of the realms of the Shadowlands. However, almost everyone in the Shadowlands refers to him as the banished one, not really the jailer as we know him, as apparently he betrayed everyone else. So they created this entire complex mechanism of the Shadowlands realm to keep him in chains. Now, if you look at the map of them all, you see the Tower of Torcast, and you also see a lot of landmass. In terms of this landmass, what it is, we know that the jailer created all this stuff, as he is imprisoned and he can't really get out in any way, shape, or form. He, with hooks and chains, pulled this landmass from various other realms of the Shadowlands and created a place that is the MAW as we have it today. However, the tower, to me, kinda seems ancient, like it was a different purpose like eons ago. So my theory is that maybe originally he really was a realm of the realm for the irredeemable souls, and the tower was a prison for those, something that the Pantheon of Death built, like that was a part of the original design. Then he did something bad that is even hard to speculate about, and all the other Eternal Ones just turned on him. They completely weakened him and they denied him any anima, and they literally built their own realms just to power themselves up and to keep him in chains. So the jailer's original purpose was lost, and he was no longer affected in judging souls or doing anything really, and in my opinion he's like a failed realm, like a failed Revendred. However, to further explain this, if this is his prison, why are there other mortal souls there? My thoughts are that the Eternal Ones did send him, but not as we initially thought. Maybe the worst of the worst that can't really be redeemed would just pose a huge threat to the entire stability of the Shadowlands, so they would strip them of anima and would send them to Zoal's prison, as they already had built this mechanism in the first place. This wasn't like a realm that is a part of the plan, but it's more of a case like we already built this insanely high security prison for Zoal, so let's also cram a few more other inmates, a few more bad apples there as well. Now, most likely the fact that Arthas was thrown with all the anima he was wasn't stripped of any, he gave the jailer the infusion he needed to put his plan at full steam, and that was to break the machine of death. We note that Denatrius is working for the jailer and that he is in fact funneling souls to the jailer, and Revendrat is no longer working as a purgatory as was intended. Why the other Eternal Ones are helping the jailer escape is just so hard to say at this point, because this is related to why he is imprisoned, and at the moment we just have like no clue. However, I'm of the opinion that the MAW is not really what we thought it was. It isn't a part of this programmed place where the Arbiter would send souls in case they were really bad, but in fact it is like a dump, a highly secure dump where they keep primarily the jailer but also throw in a few other very dangerous souls. Thank you for watching. Check out the top 10 biggest Shadowlands retcons by clicking on the screen, and also check out Don's Academy for videos on real world history and science. See you next time.